Hello, and welcome to Talks with a Teacher, the podcast that discusses the school lives and formative years with guests to see how they impacted their future choices and careers. This week I was fortunate enough to sit down and have a chat with a man who shared an arena with Luke Richardson, Mark Felix, the Strongman brothers and Eddie Hall, a man who has won Wales' strongest man on no less than 3 occasions and at his peak was one of the UK's best, Ben Badger Brunning. The self-confessed gentle giant discusses his challenges at school, his love for kayaking, and tells us why, for now at least, he is content with life outside of strongman competition. I really enjoyed this one this week, and I hope that you will too. Today's guest is Ben Badger Brunning. My class have been watching videos of him this week competing. I actually watched you win the Wales Strongest Man back in 2019 in Llangollen. Yeah. So I've got to see you in person as well. And thank you very much for joining me this morning.
No, pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Fantastic. Thank you. Originally you're from sort of, is it Harwich?
Yeah. Harwich, little town just outside Colchester in Essex.
Fantastic. So obviously you're born there, grew up there. What are your sort of earliest memories of growing up there?
The swimming pool. My mum was a swimming teacher / lifeguard. So I spent my childhood down the swimming pool. And to keep me out of trouble, she signed me up for rugby. There was no kids team, so I had to play with the Colts. So
wow, okay.
So being the age, I'm going to say 12 and upwards, playing with under 17-year-olds.
Wow.
I didn't get much time on the pitch, but I was there training. I was there every match and just kept me out of trouble and kept me active, really, yeah.
Yeah, so you've always been pretty sporty then?
Yeah, I blame it on my mum. She just forced me into everything, like everything sporty I was doing. Sent away on like sport camps in the middle of summer and everything you could think of that a parent could sign you up for, I was signed up for and forced into. Yeah.
Well, obviously, held you in good stead for the sort of career you went into.
Yeah, like yeah, I blame her, but it was a good blame.
So growing up in Harwich, obviously, you've got your early memories of swimming. What was school like for you?
School's good, to be honest. Outside the classroom, I was semi-popular. I got on with all the popular gang, but yeah. I was never one of them. So I weren't. Yeah, it was a good time. I had my good friends and it was outside classroom, like really, really fun, good time. Inside the classroom, I struggled a bit due to being dyslexic.
All right,
and
okay.
At the time when I was at school, dyslexia wasn't overly a thing.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't down for my mum going in and forcing the teachers to take it seriously, I probably would have got left behind quite a lot.
Yeah.
Where nowadays there's a lot of help for kids with dyslexia and stuff like that. What I found is I got bored in class and then I started being disruptive and seen as a naughty kid, where by year 10 I got my own teacher assistant.
All right, okay.
So when the teacher explained what the class is doing, the teacher assistant managed to come over and sit with me and go through what we're doing. So I actually understood what was going on.
Yeah.
And I was actually able to learn. It's a bit of a shame it only happened year 10, but it's good that it did happen and it's happening a lot more now. So.
Yes, yeah. I was going to say it is a real shame that obviously, like you say, now there's a lot more in place for children and it's sort of picked up earlier, but the fact that it's taken till like 14, 15 for anybody to go, well, to be able to access the curriculum, you need a bit of extra support.
Yeah. It took my mum, we used to have to go for long drives to go and to see specialist people and to come back with a certificate of dyslexia and for the school to do anything.
Yeah.
But once that was in place, it seemed in the future more and more parents are able to do it a lot easier now. So.
Definitely. I was going to say you're probably pretty much right at the start there, because I think you're just 1 or 2 years older than me. And I think it was the case for me when I was in school. You didn't see sort of teaching assistants as much as you do now.
No.
So, it's a real shame that you've kind of had to go to those lengths to get the support that you needed.
Yeah, but at the same time, if it weren't down for people like my mum, like she was in there arguing with teachers and head teachers constantly about my education, because a lot of them just wanted to label me as a naughty kid, which I was, because I didn't understand what was happening in the class. But if we weren't down for people like that, you wouldn't be where you are now with the amount of help you get in classes and
absolutely
different things.
Obviously, you see those children who, as you say, people are sort of tempted to label as the naughty kids. And then it's like, well, if they don't understand what's going on and they can't, access the curriculum, what can we do to ensure that that's in place? And like you say, once that's in place, then it just makes everything sort of fall into place a bit more then.
The best classes I was actually good at was the PE, but I passed without doing any written stuff, even though I got the best scores written stuff because I was really into it. But PE, but then performing arts and technology, I got my best scores because they done the NBQ type thing. So I'd done all my coursework before the test, and when it came to the test, I already had a C no matter what.
There you go.
So it's really,
I was going to say that's a lot better now as well, because obviously when everything sort of falls on, one exam on the day and that's your ultimate score, obviously, a lot of children are at a massive disadvantage. So having that coursework and stuff in place is really, really handy. Excellent. So we talked about what sort of pupil you were. How did you find sort of high school in general? And the main reason I always ask this is because for me it was quite a struggle, because all of my friends went to sort of the local high school, but my mum worked there and she didn't want me to go to that high school. So I was sent to a high school where I knew one lad through like Cubs and Scouts, but and he happened to not be in on the first day of my year 7. So I kind of walked into this hall of like 150 kids and I was like, I don't know anyone. And that obviously everyone, knew each other from primary school and stuff. So it really took me a while to sort of settle into school. Did you go to your sort of local high school?
Yeah, well, my brother and sister went to a posh school called Holbrook, but I failed my my 11 plus.
Right.
So I had to go to the local Harwich school. But I wouldn't have changed it, to be honest. Growing up and seeing the posh school, and it wouldn't have been for me anyway. I went there with a good bunch of friends. When I was there, I made a good bunch of friends. I was home every night. It was the general high school thing for me was great. I wouldn't have changed where I went. It was a brilliant school for me.
Excellent. From your school, obviously it sounded like you obviously had some difficulties. Were there any teachers that stood out for you that sort of helped you, pointed you in the right direction, or perhaps the teaching assistant that you worked with?
Yeah, the teacher assistant I worked with was little Mo, Miss Radcliffe, but we called her little Mo because she looked like the EastEnders character.
Right, okay.
And she was the one where she was my first teacher assistant, and she sat with me through like maths and English and everything like that, everything what I would be disruptive in. And she made them work. I wouldn't say fun. Education for me, sitting down education, learning stuff is great fun, but sitting down writing is not my skill set, so to say. So but she made that much more manageable and made actually doing stuff in class much better.
Excellent. These days now, if you were probably in primary school now, obviously there's a lot more sort of active parts of the curriculum that I think would be fantastic, because like you say, it's not for everyone just sitting there copying. And especially sort of when we were in school, there was a lot more of copy this from the textbook, write this from the board. And it's not an ideal way to learn for the majority of children. You got to the end of high school, you got a few good scores in the bank. What did you do with yourself next?
I moved away. So I lived in Howard. I moved away to just outside Bedford. There was a college called Shuttleworth College. Mm-hmm. So I was a live-in student there. I was only 16, so it was still very much like we had college lecturers coming over at night, making sure we're not drinking and doing all the naughty stuff. But so we were there. I was there, so 16 to 18. It was a outdoor education college. Well, no, it weren't. That was the course I was doing, but it was more of an agricultural college. People went there to learn how to farm and
right, okay.
Equine and loads of other farming stuff. But that was brilliant because I chose to go there. I decided, well, actually, let's put a bit of effort in with the reading and writing and stuff. But they also had a department which I was signed up for that I could go and get my work proofread.
Right, okay.
So I would go there with my scriggles and say, I want to put that into readable English, please. And they'll go through it with me and they'll like just so yeah, I had a lot of help there with my dyslexia, but a lot of it was outdoor based. Like halfway through the year, we had to go on work experience. So the first time I went on work experience was just down the road, a place called Grafton Water Centre.
Right.
And I went there because I was into my sailing. But during I was there, I got into kayaking, big time. So the year after, when I went for my second year work experience, I went over to the French Alps to do work for PGL, and that's where I got into like kayaking and loads of like mountain climbing, loads of other things, and that was a absolutely brilliant experience. That was like a life-changing opportunity for me to go away and proper look at my life, because some of the friends I left at home, they didn't have the best life. They stayed at home. They got into bad stuff, and looking back, like thinking, oh, if I stayed here, would I have ended up like that?
Absolutely.
I'm not too sure. So breaking from the chain, like, again, probably my mum forced me, but gave me the courage to go away and look at a life that I could have built.
Yes.
And if it didn't work, it was only 2 years out of my life, and I would have just moved back home. So, but with great experiences, just bivvying out in the French Alps, like no canopy, so you got all the stars and the moons, and you were with a bunch of friends and campfire and everything, and kayaking down massive white water. And you just think like, this is my life. So the next however many years after that, I just stayed as a kayaking bum. I worked enough to get a bit of money to go to Africa or India or Nepal, and then I went out and kayaked.
Wow. So where would you say is sort of the best place you've been? Obviously, sounds like you've been to some pretty exotic locations. Where's the place you enjoyed the most?
India/Nepal was the best cultural place I've been to. For kayaking itself was Africa, because I went on the Zambezi and the White Nile, and it's just you go down the river and they got like a wave the size of a house. Wow. And you just like paddling into it, and it's kind of like a hold your breath situation.
Yeah.
You pop out somewhere. But cultural, India and Nepal is just so rich in culture, especially up in the mountains. It's just beautiful.
Wow, that sounds awesome. So you were doing that till you were about how old?
So started that when I was about 18, and I moved to Wales when I was 21, and I lived there, but I still travelled.
Yeah.
So I weren't so much of a kayaking/rafting bum. I was just doing it, but living in Wales.
Yeah.
So the last time I went out was probably about 3 years ago. I went and kayaked somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, went out kayaking somewhere about 3-4 years ago.
Before the world went mad.
Yes, yeah.
TV. So obviously, like you say, you moved to Wales, sort of been here sort of 10, 12 years?
Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah, 12 years, I'd say.
Yeah, what brought you to Wales?
There's a really good, just up the road from where I live now, a really good rafting centre called the National Whitewater Centre.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came here to work there, and then in the winter go off and kayak or go on a holiday somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about Bala, but I just end up staying. And so many other people of my mates who came for one rafting season, now lived there like 10, 20 years, and it's just like, I don't know, just stayed.
Yeah, fair enough. Well,
So,
it's something we've done with the children. Obviously, it's been limited the last couple of years, but usually we go to Glantlyn, down your neck of the woods, and we do a 3-day residential there. And obviously, that's an opportunity for the children to kind of get out on the lake and do all the kayaking and rafting and wall climbing and stuff. So, it is a beautiful part of the world. I can see what encouraged you to come.
It just makes you stay. Don't know what it is. Like you say, it's beautiful, it's accessible. I don't know. Yeah, you're just here.
So going back to, obviously, you said you were playing rugby with the Colts and stuff from like the age of 12. So obviously, was that when you looking towards your strongman career? Do you think things like that would have impacted it? Sort of obviously realizing your strength and stuff from quite a young age.
Yeah, like I was always big for my year. Always been like a gentle giant type person. Yeah, but playing rugby, like there's a lad who was a couple of years older than me, but he's still young for the squad, called Gareth Burney, and he's lack of a better word, he was very much obese. But I remember there was it was brilliant now, because I saw him last time I went home and he lost all that weight. And he's brilliant. But like, I remember having to pick him up on my shoulders and having to run, put him down, and pick another member of our team up, who's again is 17 years old, and run and put him down. And I remember just thinking then, it's like that's heavy. So like I've always been strong and active. So by the time I got into strongman, I always had like a fairly good baseline on like the awkward movement stuff, like the Atlas stones and the yoke carry and farmers carry and stuff like that. I've always been good at that. It was like the base strength, like the deadlifts and squats and stuff that I had to work on.
So had you always kind of gone to the gym, or had things like your outdoor sports and kayaking been your way of fitness, or were you in the gym as well?
Outdoor sports and kayaking. I remember when I moved to Wales, and then I came back to Wales. I lived with my mate, and I moved here. I was a bit early, and for the season to start. So as I was here, I was jobless for a while. I had a few savings, but I was jobless. So we decided to go to the gym just for something to do. And I was like, well, I'm going to keep the weight off so I can go kayaking more. And my mate was just like, oh, we're going to get bigger and stronger. And that was the first time I really not stepped into a gym, but like started to go to the gym. The more the stronger he got, the more I wanted to not let him get stronger than me.
Of course.
So without thinking about it, I was being competitive against him. And he'd done his first strongman competition. I went there to watch, and I remember just thinking like, I would have won this. Thinking what I could do in the gym. So about a year later, I think, maybe 2 years later, I'd done my first comp, and it's like a bug. It's just like, oh, this is what I do now.
So you basically became a strongman by accident.
Basically, I didn't have any plan. I didn't want to be stronger. I wanted to be smaller for kayak. But the more I got into it, the more I left kayaking. I was doing it bit by bit and doing it for work, but I would just be focusing on strongman more.
Did it ever become like your full-time job as a strongman, or were you doing bits on the side? Or
I've always worked through it. There was one point where I was gunning for sponsorship to become full-time, and it's becoming more and more likely now. But back when I was gunning for it, I think the Stoltmans were full-time, but they were sponsored by everyone, and they were swapping sponsors in and out. It looked like a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
And you had Terry and Loz. Mark Felix was the plasterer, and and Eddie was the only one really making any money, like serious money out of it.
Yeah.
So it was a lot to ask for me to become full time.
Yeah.
But now I think a lot more people are doing it. I think there's a few more people who are
it does seem to become more popular.
Yeah.
Like obviously some of the people you said there are obviously kind of, you know, the ones that are at the very top of the sport and are managing to sort of get through it, but everyone else has obviously got other things to pay the bills. Some of the guys that you've mentioned there, obviously, you know, the whole strongman thing, it's like a whole community. Who are the guys that you've kind of got on best with throughout your time competing throughout the things like Giants Live and UK Strongest Man?
When I first got into like the TV side of it, you get put in a hotel and you're coached around together. So it's called like it's a right little community you're in. And the people I went in there with Power Dwyer, Ryan England, and Tom Stoltman, and Sean Logan, and those guys, because you're in that environment, and then you're competing against each other, and it's all on TV, and I don't know, it kind of like builds a bond. And then since like then, you're very close to those guys, and no matter what happened after that, I was always chatting with them like most days and stuff like that. And same thing really, I went to America with Luke Richardson and got on really well with him, and spent like it was like a week or so in a hotel together, and it was just a great experience with him, and like competing head to head against him. And again, you get all this camaraderie of living and competing against each other. So there's a lot of people I get on with, but the people who I speak to now, not doing it as much now, is it's Power Drive, Ryan England, and Lou Richardson, really. The people I chat to daily.
Fab. How old's Luke Richardson now? He's one of those that's kind of feels like a young gun, and he's always talked about as the future of the sport, but he feels like he's been around a few years as well. Yeah,
he's going to be like 24 now, and he was like, I think he was 21 when he first come onto the Giants Live scene. But he got hit with 2 injuries in a row, hasn't he? So he's been out for a bit.
That's the thing. Obviously, saying about injuries, obviously you've had your fair share of injuries at sort of major events and stuff. What happened? Was it 2020?
Yeah, it was the Giants Live. So I just won the big one, but the World's Strongest Man Tour. No, I didn't win that. Sorry, come second in that, and but only by half a point. But I come second in that, and I think I got a bit too big for my boots. I was flying high, you know. I was the man. And went to America and done this thing with Luke and come second in that. So I had a world's thing and 2 world's seconds, and I was feeling like invincible, really. And I remember chatting to Eddie Hall, and he's just like, go to Britain's and just do the bare minimum. You already qualified for World's Strongest Man. Just go there, you know, show your face, and that's it. But I've always, every time I went to Britain's, I've never been better than 10th. You know, and this time I was like, I can win this one. So I proper went for it, and as I went for it, I slipped 2 discs and crushed one. And even though I got told that's probably an injury what happened previously, if I didn't gun into it as much as I did and thought about what Eddie said, you know, only go half-heartedly, who knows what could have happened. I might have been able to stay into it, at least got to Worlds or something like that. But I think I just went a bit too full on and too much, because I was because in my head I opened the door to be like a professional strongman. And I was just about to step in, and I was way too fast to step right in. That I got injured and knocked straight back out, which cost me my spot at Worlds, because I was in no fit state to go out there. At the time, it was really hard. Like being flying that high and being the name everyone's talking about, and then suddenly just like boom. And then after a while, you realise, oh, like it's only been like less than a year and no one's talking about me anymore. So there's a lot of time you're just like, oh my God, this is it. But it's actually been a blessing in disguise for me personally.
Yeah. So are you happy to be sort of where you currently are? Yeah.
So basically got injured, tried to pretend I wasn't injured and injured myself more.
Right.
Then realizing, okay, I am injured.
Yeah.
And then dealing with it. So dealing with it, I lost 5 stone and I've taken up boxing because just the movement side of boxing is just really good for my back. Chatting to my osteopath and because it's been so long, she reckons that my disc probably won't go back in naturally. It'll have to be surgery. But if you go to surgery, you're looking at the problems down the road. And they probably won't do surgery because I'm not in pain. It's just like annoyance pain more than anything. The blessing is, with kayaking and stuff, I got to a ability that if I put my whole thought process into it, I could have become professional, but that never crossed my mind. My mind was just kayak for fun.
Yeah.
And then, so I've taken up boxing and I've got the same mindset with boxing as I do with kayaking. It's that I really enjoy boxing. I'm going to do it to my best ability, but there's no pressure. There's nothing. It's just the only pressure I got in my life is making sure I got a roof over my head and I'm fed. And my fiance and dog's happy. As long as that is fulfilled, I'm happy.
Yeah.
So the blessing in disguise is basically is to rejig my priorities. So my priorities when I was doing Strongman was be the best strongman, get famous, get paid to do Strongman. And then my relationship was struggling. My health at that level was struggling, and just rejiggled priorities. I've got a much better way of life now, and much more chilled and much more just content. It's nice. Yeah,
I was gonna say you certainly come across that way. Is like you say, you're gentle giant. If you're obviously in a very positive place, and without those pressures. So it's really good to hear.
Yeah.
Just jumping back to that injury. Obviously, when you've done your injury, was it during a lift that you hurt yourself?
Well, yeah. So I was warming up on deadlifts and got to about 330 kilograms, and I think we were going to. I think it was like 350 or something like that. So it's my last lift for warming up. And as soon as I pulled, I don't know what it felt like. I just felt like my legs just gave way. And before I knew it, I was on the floor.
Yeah.
And I was in a deadlift seat and I was strapped to the bar. So I had to get Tom Stoltman come over and release me. and I didn't feel bad. I knew something wasn't right. But I didn't feel like I wasn't in loads of pain. I just this is my legs. I don't feel like I got complete control of my legs. And so Aaron Page was there, and he was and he brought his physios and everything. So they had a look at me and they put me on a hot pad, and they were doing some stuff. A doctor came over and everything, and then Colin Bryce came over and told me not to continue. So I was like, all right, I won't.
Yeah.
And then it was all a bit surreal what was happening. And then that evening, it started to really hurt. I couldn't sleep. Problem is, being such at the time, a big name in the lifting world, everyone was giving me their 2 cents on how to fix myself.
Of course, yeah.
And the problem is, I didn't not listen to everyone. So I should. By the end, I just said, no more advice. I've got one person I'm listening to. So that was a physio down in Shrewsbury. She was brilliant. She got me from walking hunched over everywhere and being in a lot of pain to being manageable with life. And then now I'm going to see an osteopath in Shrewsbury based in Strong Sports Nutrition.
Yeah. And
she got me from everyday life to being able to train. And I'm in a bit of pain now and then. But very rarely, and the pain I get in is just annoying pain rather than pain.
Yeah.
But I go and see her every other week just to loosen off the muscles because the disc is still out. The muscles react around it, so they tense up. So I just got to get the base and elbow into the glutes and lower back, and it's a lot of pain at the time, but for like 2 weeks I'm fine. I can keep doing stuff.
When you were on the strongman circuit, you spoke a lot about a few people who you spent a lot of time with and got on with and still speak to now. Is there anyone that you didn't really click with, or didn't perhaps sort of take to the camaraderie that the others did?
There's loads of people that you don't click with, but it doesn't ruin your day. So like, I don't know. There's people who just like, whatever, and then you just crack on. I used to be really good mates with a person called Matt Jeans. By the time that I beat him and took the title, his attitude towards me changed. So then we just kind of fell out, and with the social media being social media, that emphasized that a lot. So I don't know. He might be saying the same thing about me. He might be saying that my attitude changed towards him. I don't think it did, but who knows? But yeah, I certainly don't blame him for anything at all. But it was just weird how we were really close, and then the time I beat him, then we stopped being close.
Right. Okay.
And then you start hearing things he says about you from other people, and it's never from his mouth, and this, that, and the other. And you hear stories that he's fallen out with other people that beat him in his own gym. And
but
the problem is all social media is all what you hear from other people.
Of course, yeah.
And that could have been a reason why I fell out with a friend, which would be really upsetting. Even though he might have done nothing, and
absolutely,
they might have done nothing. It was just other people on, like, gossiping. So
absolutely, social media can be a brilliant place, but can be sort of fraught with dangers as well, can't it? So in 2019, just throwing back to there, obviously that's when I saw you in person, win Wales Strongest Man. Obviously that was sort of the emergence of Gavin Bilton really as well.
Was that the one in Llangollen?
In Llangollen, yeah.
Yeah, so that was his second time competing. Yeah. Okay. That's my third win.
Yes, it was.
And but Gavin Bilton's second time at Wales.
Have you had a lot to do with Gavin, sort of with tournaments and things like that?
Yeah, we chat semi-regularly, really. I always wish him well for his comps, and he used to do the same for me. And I got a lot of time for him. He's a hell of a competitor.
Yes.
I tell him to his face, I don't mind saying it here, the weight he put on is, as much as it made him statically strong, it's hindering him a lot. If he lost that weight slowly, so he gets to keep the gains he's made strength-wise, I've got no doubt in my mind he'll be one of the best in the world. But carrying that weight, because the weight's mostly around his belly, so carrying that weight around his belly is hindering him. Yeah. Especially now, strongman's becoming a lot more physical rather than just being stupidly strong.
Of course, yeah.
So if you look at Tom Stoltman, he's put on a lot of weight, but he's still very much trim. And Gavin's got the same build as that. Gavin should be and could be looking like Tom and being faster and more energetic and stuff like that. Yeah, and if he does that, I've no doubt in my mind he'll be one of the best in the world.
Yeah, because like you say, very statically strong, but obviously a lot of the strongman events now are around like loading and taking things one place to another, and things like the Atlas stones, where obviously you're picking up that weight and moving with it.
And especially they've done a lot of years now of getting the world records, so I'm assuming they're going to step away from that and focus on something else, because there's only so many deadlift records you can watch, and there's only so many log world records you can watch without getting bored.
Yeah, well, of course, they're always trying to mix it up, aren't they? There's always things. Because do you get told in advance what they're going to be, or do you turn up on the day?
For Worlds, I think you get told for Worlds. I didn't get told, and I pulled out about 2 months before. I think someone said you get to know the events 3 months before.
Right.
When it come to UK Strongest Man, that changed the night before. You know, like you get told what they were, so you train for them, and then it changes constantly.
Wow.
Giants Live, roughly the same every year,
right?
Give or take. Yeah.
Okay.
They got their show down to a T, and they stick to it.
Yeah. Obviously, you won Wales Strongest Man on 3 separate occasions. Yeah. Very, very well done.
Thank you.
What is the sort of the level, the step up from once you've won Wales to then moving on to things like the UKs and the Giants Live? How much of a step up is that?
Since Big Dog's taken over Wales, there's a massive kerfuffle with Wales. Now there's 2.
Right. Okay.
So before, Wales was a qualifier for UK Strongest Man and Giants Live, and now the Big Dogs won the one for Giants Live, so only the winner goes there.
Right.
And then UKs do their own Wales Strongest Man, and they go to UK Strongest Man.
Yeah.
So, but when it was combined, the problem what we had was the weights were so much lower than UKs. So every time a Welsh person went to UKs, it was very rare that they could keep up.
Right.
Then Big Dogs took over, and the weights were very much close to like UKs, or well, at least like the England, Scotland qualifiers. They're very close to them.
Yeah.
So if you did manage to do a good job at Wales, you knew you were in fairly good stead to go to UKs.
Yeah.
And I believe that this is fair for the UK's Wales Strongest Man now. I think the weights are very similar for all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But as a level of competitors, I don't want to bag talk, but basically, since I started, you'd find that in Wales Strongest Man, you get like the top 3 were like heads and shoulders above the rest.
Yeah.
The time in Llangollen when you came to watch, that was probably the best lineup ever.
Yeah.
You had me, Bilton, Matt Diamond, then it was Dale Peters, then Mark Jeans 5th, and then so you have 5 people who are UK Strongest Man, maybe even Giants Live able.
Yeah.
So that was a very good year, but I don't know what it's been like the last couple of years. So I kind of haven't watched.
Yeah, fair enough.
But normally it was like you get one maybe 2 people who are like ready to compete, and then the rest of them were either like newer or just not as good as they should be to go up to the rest.
Yeah,
that's what that's what I kind of figured out for the last. Well, my first comp was 2012. Yeah, since then to 2019, that's what I picked out from Wales to UKs.
I just wanted to ask you about Kelly Proctor. She's someone you've trained with and competed with, and I've seen her in the gym myself and talked to Kelly a lot. Obviously, she's competing at the moment. Is there sort of any advice you've given her, either based on her lifts or on competitions in general?
Well, I used to train Kelly. She's now getting trained by the legend that is Jenny Todd. And Jenny Todd's amazing. So my advice would be listen to her completely. But Kelly's an amazing girl, and she always thinks of others. And going to a comp, you have to be a little bit selfish and just think about yourself. But every time I see her at comps, she's always thinking about whether or not other people have food or something like that. Like she competes a lot with my partner Nia, and she always makes sure like Nia's all set up and ready for this and the other. Just be a bit more selfish and have a bit more belief in herself. Yeah, and she'll go a long way. I think like since training with Jenny, her training looks brilliant, but she's got a very hard job. So trying to balance those 2 is unreal.
That's so, the thing,
fair play to her anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've seen her, kind of in the gym the day after working nights, and because she's like, I've got a competition coming up, and you do just think, wow, how you are balancing your life is really impressive.
Yeah. She's in constantly as well. She's like, every day off she gets, she's always getting a phone call or something like that. She's always
definitely. Oh yeah, my Instagram feed is always with her lifting logs and Atlas stones and stuff, and it is just like, where she gets her energy from, I don't know.
Yeah, her commitment is second to none. So, and she's got a good strong unit behind her. She trains at Spartans. She goes to Woolworth Fit. She goes to Seddons a lot. She's an incredible, lovely person.
She is wonderful. We'll just jump into, I've got a few questions from my class because, like I say, we always do questions from the class. And this week, bless them, they've written out loads. So I've picked a few because they were all keen to know things. First one, starting strong. When you were competing, could you lift my teacher, so me, above your head? So I'm definitely. In terms of the weight, obviously I'm probably about 95 kilos, I think. What's the most that you've lifted sort of above your head?
Log, like what you were saying Kelly was doing.
Yeah.
My best log was 200 kilograms.
Wow. Okay. So there you go. You could lift two of me above your head, which is quite scary to think. Obviously a very similar one here. Someone wants to know, what is the heaviest weight you've lifted? So deadlift probably, wasn't it?
So my heaviest deadlift was 410 kilograms.
Wow.
The heaviest weight I've lifted was 500 kilogram yoke. But literally, like, you lift it that much.
Yeah.
And then you put
yeah. What was the strangest thing that you've ever lifted? And I think this sparked from, we saw a video of you, I think it was at Giants Live, lifting the car, where obviously you go in and you have that on your shoulders, similar to a yoke. Yeah. Is that...
Cars are weird because they swing around a lot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think now. Someone made a yoke, but they made it like old, like beer barrel yokes. So when you lifted them, they went everywhere. They were really difficult. So it looked very impressive because you had two like barrels, like huge on either side, and as soon as you lifted them, but you just went everywhere. Just didn't have any. But yeah, probably a car, like a hollowed out car.
Yeah,
I had a roller car that was very difficult.
Yeah,
so they hollowed out a car as well. So it's around about 400 kilograms ish.
Yeah,
and you go into it, and it's got a bolted on bar. Right. You elbow it up, and it rolls over.
Right. Okay.
And you just, that's a cool thing to do.
Yeah, that sounds cool. They always try to throw a curveball, increasingly done in the last few years. I think they're trying to obviously make it more interesting to watch and to compete in.
Yeah.
Who was your strongest ever opponent who you've shared an arena with? You think, wow, they are just, top of their game?
So I competed against Eddie Hall, which is a loose term because I was in the same competition as Eddie Hall. It would have been interesting to see where I was against Eddie Hall when he was at his best and then I was at my best. No doubt that he would beat me, but just to see where I was against him. But the person who just impresses you a lot when you're competing against him is Kielikowski.
Yes.
Mateusz Kielikowski. He's just incredible. They call him the Terminator, and you can see why when he competes. He's just, I'm hoping he's going to come back from his injury and just absolutely smash the future. But he's just, I don't know what it is. He's scary as well. I think that's the thing is that you go, "You all right?" And he looks at you, you go,
he's just walking around intimidating some of the strongest men in the world.
Yeah, easily as well.
We're doing Disney at the minute as our topic. Now, obviously, you are a gentle giant, but you are being asked, do you like Disney movies? And if so, what's your favourite?
Oh, that's difficult. I've been watching the new ones recently.
Yeah.
And my favourite one at the moment is it Coco?
Yes.
The one where the Mexican one.
It's the Mexican one with the Festival of Death, isn't it?
Yeah. I love it.
It is
absolutely
brilliant.
Love it. I watched it like 5 times now.
Oh, there you go. Oh, they'll be chuffed for that because they really like the songs from that film as well. So they'll be chuffed for that.
But the missus likes Luca, the one where they're fish people.
Ah, right, okay. Oh, yes, yeah, I have
Yeah,
seen that.
she like,
My
yeah,
children were watching that not long ago. So yeah, it's a good one.
yeah. We don't have kids.
If this doesn't prove that Disney's for everyone, I don't know what
But
does.
everyone, yeah.
How obviously you've spoken about your kayaks, your
Yes.
kayaking and things like that, but one of the kids' questions is, how do you relax? Because obviously, when you are competing, whether it's training with boxing or for when you were doing strongman, what do you do to just go, right, I just need to wind down today?
Recently, I've been I got an Xbox and I never really played it until recently. I got into a game called Skyrim.
Yes.
So when I want to relax, I just go and kill some dragons.
Fair enough.
So,
that's a massive game, Skyrim, as well. That'll keep you entertained for a while.
I don't want to big myself up, but I have saved the world on numerous occasions.
There you go.
So yeah,
Can't
feel free to thank me. Yeah.
I'll have to go and find them. And final question, where do you keep all of your trophies? Because obviously you've won numerous titles in the last few years. What do you do with them all?
So I gave a load to Strom to put up in his shop, as he sponsored me from the start.
Yeah.
But the main one's on my windowsill. So I had a giveaway. I had a cool dragon one from Wales, but it was one the winner gets every year.
Yeah.
So you have to return it. But
right, okay.
I've got an axe. It's not as good as the dragon.
Yeah.
But I got my Wales one. I got the World's Strongest Man Tour, and I got the Official Strongman World Games one, all up in the window.
Yeah. Have you just got like rucks and rucks of t-shirts as well from all the events?
Yeah. I got a whole bag of t-shirts here. What I might do with the t-shirts is make them into a quilt, like a blanket.
Yeah.
So just because a load of them are the same as well. So just turn them into a blanket or something nice.
No, that'd be a brilliant memento to kind of look back on and see all the things that you've competed in. That'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
Are you done with strongman now, do you think, because of your injury?
For the time being,
yeah.
Injury-wise, yes. But never say never. Might get back in. I still go and train with people down at Spartan every other Sunday. Me and the missus go and train.
Yeah.
But that's just to keep up with everyone and go and see, make sure I see Kelly enough and make sure I see Jason and Harris and stuff. And because you make a lot of friends. You don't want to just abandon the whole thing.
Well, of course. Yeah.
But it's just the competing side. I'm not looking at doing anymore.
Yeah.
Just going to focus on keeping fit. At the moment, that's boxing. But boxing for me is just a hobby.
Yeah.
It's not going to be anything crazy.
Okay.
And then focus on that and keeping healthy and happy.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Now, you say you're not going to take boxing seriously. However, you became a strongman by accident. Do you think
there is always a risk, isn't there?
So you've got.
I have got 2 fights coming up, but in my defence, the fights were just for a goal to lose weight, because I was boxing for a little bit anyway, and I found my weight was just a bit stagnant and I weren't really taking a diet seriously and this, that and the other. So after chatting to my mate, I decided to take up a dietitian and then pick a fight well enough into the future that I would lose the weight. So since then I dropped about 5 stone and then feeling fit as I've been for many years. And so I've got this fight coming up now in start of March. So,
is there not one in February?
There was.
Oh, right. Okay. Has that changed? I had it. You were fighting Matthew Thomas in February. Is that changed now? Yes. Is it?
That got changed because in Wales at the moment you're not allowed anyone inside. You're not allowed a crowd.
Right. Okay. Because the rules changed yesterday. Has that just come too soon and it's been pushed back?
Maybe. I think they just worried and then changed it all.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But it's on the 19th of March in Cricket. But I had one already set up for the 5th of March in Shrewsbury.
Right. Okay. So the one in Cricket, that's against Matthew Thomas.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that someone you know, or is it just, you know,
I
from
have
another
no idea
gym?
who he is.
No?
I just know he looks like Ant Middleton.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah, that's all I know.
That's
That
all
he
we've
looks
got
like
so
Ant
far. There we go.
Yeah.
So if you were to win your kind of upcoming fights, is it something you take more seriously, or are you thinking it's just purely for fitness?
I think purely just for fitness. Because in my head, like, I'll probably do more fights, but in my head, like, I was happiest when I was kayaking for fun, and I was happiest when I was doing strongman for fun. And as soon as I decided to do strongman for more than fun, that's when the happiness stopped.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to do that again with strongman. I mean, like, for other people, they love it. I mean, like, the Stoltmans, they absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Like Adam Bishop, he's all about it, you know.
Yeah.
Like Brian Shaw, like, he's been, how many years he's been doing it? And Matt Felix, they've been doing it for years. So some people love it. So I'm not saying it's you know, don't chase that dream. You know, I'm just saying, for me personally, I'm much happier when I'm chilled.
Yeah.
And I've got no pressure, and so that's me.
Well, no, it certainly comes across that way, and you know, it's great that you are at a place now where you're thinking, I am just happy. I haven't got these kind of whole pressures bearing down on me. Just finally, obviously, we've just hit 2022. It's been a kind of a rough couple of years. Beyond boxing, what have you got planned? What your kind of hopes and expectations for this new year?
Well, we bought a house.
Yeah.
And we've got some ideas to make it nicer. So that'll be basically our plans for that. In November, we're getting married.
Lovely.
So we're looking forward to doing that. And then hopefully the world won't be so messed up.
Yeah.
We'll go abroad and do Thailand is what we're hoping for.
Nice.
So that's all we've got planned. Apart from that, we can't really afford anything else.
Yeah.
So marriage, a holiday, and house stuff is us maxed out.
I was going to say, yeah, you've kind of gone all in one there with a house and a wedding in this short space of time. We've kind of prioritized one over the other. I'm getting married in August because we were due to be getting married last year, but obviously the restrictions were all still in place, and we could have only had 30 people and stuff. So we said we'll push it back a year, and obviously we'd like to go abroad as well. So hopefully this year we'll both be able to do those things. Excellent. So just to reiterate, thank you so much for coming on. It genuinely has been really nice, pleasure, really good chatting with you. You just, you know, come across as really chilled out, down to earth guy, which is what I expected. But still, it really has been lovely to talk to you. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
A big thank you to Badger for discussing his life and for giving us a glimpse into the world of strongman. It's wonderful to see him in such a good place, enjoying what he does, and I'd like to wish him the absolute best for his upcoming fights. Thank you also to you, the listener, and if you'd like to follow the podcast, it is Talks with a Teacher on both Facebook and Instagram, Talks with Pod on Twitter, and you can subscribe to get notified whenever a new episode is released wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you soon.